Chapter 4. The product. Whether you're selling an actual product, as I am, or offering more of a service, exactly how you want it to work is entirely down to you. This part of the process will depend so much on your idea that it is difficult for me to give you a step-by-step guide. However, there are a few tips and tricks I can provide you with concerning some of the different ways you might go about creating your product. Do it yourself. There is a lot to be said for getting to the end of the day and feeling the satisfying sensation of having actually made something. In a world of computer screens and digital downloads, we have become hugely disconnected from the art of physically creating things. Every week, I meet people who have quit their jobs in the city in pursuit of such a feeling. They've started baking, crafting, brewing, carving and painting, using their eyes and hands to make a beautiful product. Many reading this book will have dreams of doing something similar, of turning their craft into a career. Despite the fact that you love your homemade products and everyone tells you they are wonderful, there is a long way to go before you have a commercially viable product in your hands. You will have to be sure you can make your product at home sufficiently quickly and cheaply to be able to offer it at a competitive price. It's important when you price your homemade products that you place at least some value on your own time, otherwise you are not really running a business. If you are producing food or drink, you will have to get a food hygiene certificate. You can do a multiple choice test online and get an instant certificate for very little money, and have your kitchen inspected by the local government authority. For most products, there will be packaging requirements, for example, best before dates, washing instructions, country of origin, that you must adhere to by law. You can probably do this simply by checking what information your competitors' products have on them, as they should be operating within the law. It is also worth checking this information with your local government authority, the Trading Standards Department of your local council, if you're in the UK. ETSE.com. One of the driving forces in the revolution of people leaving their desks and instead taking up sewing, knitting, jewelry making and other crafts has been ETSE. Roughly approximating to a giant eBay for handmade goods, ETSE allows anyone who is making products themselves to set up a shop front instantly, so that their products are available to customers all around the world. I know of many people who derive all or most of their income from selling goods on ETSE, but the majority of people selling there are doing so just as a sideline. If you are making a product yourself, I'd definitely recommend having an ETSE store as part of your overall business plan. Prototyping. For almost any product, the first step will be to get to the point of having a fully functional prototype version that you can show to potential customers. In the case of a food product, this will be a small batch of items that you have probably made yourself by hand, which you can use as samples to get some bigger orders before pressing the green light on outsourced manufacturing. Maker spaces. A great opportunity to create a prototype of your product, whether it is a chair or a piece of jewelry, comes in the form of maker spaces. In a lot of cities around the world, there are workshops available to hire by the hour. Inside them is all of the equipment you could possibly need to fashion your product. 3D printing. One of the most exciting and hyped areas of technological advance at the moment is 3D printing. The cost of the equipment and necessary chemicals is falling all the time, making this technology increasingly accessible. Ultimately, many products will probably be 3D printed, but at the moment one of the most commercially viable uses of this technology is to create prototypes. A quick Google search will reveal heaps of companies offering you a chance to send over your design files to be 3D printed on their equipment for a relatively small fee. T-shirts, mugs, stickers, etc. If you're good at designing graphics, have something funny to say, or are creating a brand around a particular niche theme, there are a number of terrific manufacture-on-demand services for general merchandise. Things like t-shirts, mugs, stickers, caps, bags, greetings cards, posters and iPhone cases can all be easily printed on a one-by-one basis. Companies such as Zazzle, Cafe Press, Everpress, Merchify and Spreadshirt allow you to set up your own online store on their platform, upload your images and instantly offer your designs for sale printed on all kinds of products. Depending on the prices you set for your items, you can make a reasonable margin, and the great thing is that you don't have to find your own suppliers, hold any stock or even handle the orders. This model allows you to focus on creating your brand, producing good designs and driving people to your site. Once they're there, you don't need to worry about the rest. Even huge companies like Disney use Zazzle for some of their merchandising, which shows that it is a model that works. Outsourced manufacturing. Outsourcing can often be seen as a dirty word, synonymous with redundancies in the West and sweatshops in the East. It conjures up an image of vast call centers in Mumbai staffed by thousands of enthusiastic young Indian operatives, frantically cold-calling English housewives in the middle of Coronation Street, to try their luck at selling them a new mobile phone contract. Contract manufacturing, as it is otherwise known, is often thought of as the antithesis of the maker revolution. However, in my experience, it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, most outsourcing doesn't even involve sending work overseas. It is simply about finding someone with production facilities who can make your product for you. Outsourcing is all about finding companies that can do a better, cheaper and more efficient job of tasks than you can on your own. The key is figuring out what the core of your business is, designing products, for example, and then finding companies who are better than you at everything else. By involving other companies in your idea, it is possible to scale up production incredibly quickly, without the risk of investing in your own plant and machinery. In fact, a huge proportion of the brands that we buy every day use outsourced manufacturing. This is because they have decided they should focus their energy on building brands, marketing, and developing new products, and let someone else take care of the messy job of production, warehousing, and distribution. I built Super Jam on the back of being able to find a 120-year-old jam company who believed in my idea. At 17 years old, I obviously wasn't in a position to build my own jam factory, and so I had to convince an existing factory to work with me to make my products on a big scale. After traveling around the country, from the tiny islands in Scotland to the big cities in England, I came across one company that had some spare capacity and felt that my idea to make jam 100% from fruit was worth a shot. Some months later, we figured out how to produce my recipes on a large scale and were able to supply supermarkets. When you are looking for someone to manufacture your product for you, there are a number of things to consider. This will be the most important relationship in your whole business, so it is important that you find the right company to work with. If your partner turns out to be prone to mistakes, late deliveries, and poor quality, all of these things will negatively affect your brand and could cost you in terms of customer loyalty. Ideally, you want to visit the factory yourself to fully understand how your products will be made, how the cost is made up, and what you can do to speed up the process of getting your idea into production. However, given we are hoping to get your business off the ground in the next couple of days, the most important thing will be to find a factory that can agree in principle to produce a first batch of product for you. You will need them to create a master sample, or a prototype, that you can use for photography to display on your site. The biggest stumbling block you will face with any manufacturer is agreeing upon minimum order quantities. From the factory's point of view, your idea is a headache. Factory managers hate new ideas. If they could, they would make the same product all day, every day, without the need to change parts in between production runs. You will want as small an initial production run as possible, to limit your risk in case nobody ends up buying your product. And, of course, the factory will want you to commit to as large a run as possible. You can always get them to agree to a smaller first order by paying upfront and promising that your subsequent orders will be larger. Private label. The simplest and fastest way to get your idea onto the production line is simply to private label a manufacturer's existing product. This is where you literally buy a product that the factory makes anyway, but give it your own packaging. If you are selling something that is fairly commoditized, such as vitamin supplements or razor blades, it should be very easy to find a factory that is happy to produce these for you under your own brand. In fact, chances are, most of their existing business is based on supplying supermarket own-label products. A key thing to bear in mind is that because of the nature of private label manufacturing, your product will not be particularly unique or special. There will already be other people in the market selling the exact same items, just under a different name. So it's vital that the way you are delivering or branding it is radically different if you want to have any chance of attracting customers. Chinese manufacturing. The problems associated with outsourcing production can easily be multiplied by adding the extra layer of complexity that working with a factory overseas brings. That said, despite the occasional language barrier, factories in China and elsewhere are generally very keen to service your requirements and can usually get samples shipped to you next day. All of Super Jam's products are manufactured in the UK and, for food products at least, domestic production is probably the best option. We would probably all love to live in a world where everything was locally produced, but unfortunately we don't, and embracing overseas manufacturing can present some great opportunities for entrepreneurs. What is top of most people's minds when we talk about Chinese manufacturing is ethical considerations, especially the working conditions of the people who are involved. Being so far away, it is unlikely to be practical for you to visit the factories you are speaking to in person. You can, however, check their ratings via third-party agencies that conduct inspections. These vary between different types of factory, but you will be able to ask your factory for more details about their levels of certification. Alibaba. The internet has made the world a much smaller place, from the point of view of finding manufacturing partners in faraway countries. In the past, you would have had to deal with brokers, agents, importers, exporters, distributors, translators, chambers of commerce, and all kinds of other intermediaries. Now, you can very easily contact the factory directly and begin a dialogue right away. The biggest and easiest site to use to contact potential manufacturing partners is Alibaba.com. It is predominantly focused on Chinese factories, but there are also companies from all over the world. You'll find listings for every conceivable kind of product, from toothpicks to tablet computers and everything in between. You can simply search for companies that make the products you are looking for, and then send your specifications to those you think look up to the job. They'll get back to you, usually in a matter of hours, with their estimated costs, sample costs, timescales, and delivery and payment terms. Once you have got your shortlist down to your favorite, you will probably want to send them a sample of your product, which they can then simply copy. For some products this won't be an option, in which case just make sure that your specifications are extremely detailed. Self-publishing. If your product is a book, you should consider publishing it yourself using one of a number of services that allow you to upload your content, edit it online and then offer it for sale on a print-on-demand basis. This way, so long as you have created the content, you can have your book available for sale almost immediately. I like to say that all businesses have a book in them. If you are selling food, make a cookbook. If you're selling holidays, make a coffee table photo book about some of the destinations you have on offer. And if you're running a guest house or tour guide business, you could create a guidebook about your city. People really trust books. They assume that the author has something interesting to say and that the book they've written has gone through some kind of editing process. People also rarely throw books away, which makes them an incredibly powerful marketing tool. Blurb. My favorite self-publishing site, blurby.com, makes it really easy to create incredibly beautiful, high-print quality books. It is perfect for something like a cookbook, photo book, guidebook, or children's book, since the production values are extremely high. However, with this high quality comes a price. The cover price of books that you make with Blurb will end up being particularly high, which makes them really just suited for small projects and for books that showcase what you do, rather than being your main product in and of themselves. Amazon Create eSpace. A very viable way to publish your work is directly with Amazon, which is of course where the vast majority of books are sold these days. Their system makes it easy for you to offer your work as a print-on-demand book or ebook, and they simply pay you a royalty on the sale of each copy sold, which will typically work out at a lot more per copy than you would receive from a traditional publisher. Drop shipping. You may not even need to create your own products at all, but could rather become a retailer for other people. To avoid having to carry stock, it is possible to create a catalog of products online for your customer to order, and then send these orders straight to the manufacturer to dispatch. You can negotiate a discounted price to pay the manufacturer, giving you a margin for effectively being the middleman. This process is called drop shipping, and can be very effective so long as you find the right products to sell. For example, you could create a site that promotes food and drink produced in your local area. You could build a site, populate it with products that are on sale at your local farmer's market, and then send the order straight to the small producers to dispatch to customers. Perhaps they don't sell their products online but would be happy to receive some extra business. Apps. We've long since crossed the point where there is more web traffic on mobile phones than on desktop computers, so the opportunity to set up your business mobile first can certainly be appealing. Lots of businesses have had huge success by going down this route. Deliveroo, Uber, Yplan, and Hotel Tonight are just a few brilliant examples. The first question you need to answer is whether or not your idea actually needs to be an app. Would a mobile-optimized website be more appealing to your customers than an actual app? If you're sure that your model requires customers to download, for free or paid, an actual app, Then just like building a website, you have a couple of options for how to do it. Either you can use one of a number of drag and drop tools to help you quickly and cheaply build it yourself, or you can hire a developer to build something bespoke for you. Magazines. There is something beautiful about a printed magazine, a piece of work that someone has taken the time to put together on a particular niche topic. With our magazine, Ferment, we have learned a lot about how to publish a high-quality publication on a limited budget. The magazine business is extremely difficult to make any money from, but if you can build enough of a following for your publication, of course you can find ways of making money from selling subscriptions, advertising, sponsorship, live events, and commercial partnerships. The first step in creating a successful publication is finding great content. You will have your own particular sphere of interest that you want to write about. And it will be down to you to find contributors, photographers, and other people who believe in your vision enough to support it with free or cheap content to help get it off the ground in the early days. Even though you're producing your content on a low budget for a limited audience in the beginning, what's important is that you create something absolutely of the best standard you can, something that people will actually want to subscribe to, tell their friends about, or buy advertising in. To help finance your first print run, you could sell annual subscriptions to people who believe in your concept sufficiently that they are willing to part with a decent amount of money to see it happen. You'd be amazed at the number of people who would value being a founding member of a new publication, and you should do what you can to make them feel special and involved in your exciting new journey. The goal for your 48-hour startup project should be to create a site that gives people a taster of what your magazine will be about. You can then use that as a platform to sell subscriptions or pre-orders to your network. There are a number of print-on-demand services, such as Blurb, that will help you to create a magazine without having to invest heavily in the production of thousands of copies before you know if they're going to sell. These services also make it very easy to design, edit, and lay out your magazine with their own proprietary software. When someone places an order, the service provider prints a copy of your magazine, simple as that. In our experience with Ferment, the biggest thing we have learned is how important photography is in the creation of a great magazine. So, either make sure you can shoot fantastic images yourself or get someone on board who can. If you want to sell your magazine through stores, you'll need to register an ISSN number with the British Library or with the equivalent in your own country. If you produce your publication in a standard size, such as A4, this will help to keep print costs under control. The chances are that the main way you will monetize your publication will be through selling advertising. Selling ad space in a new magazine can be challenging, so a brilliant technique is to give the space away for free to brands that you'd love to carry. Then you can go to other brands and say, "Hey, look at all these great brands that advertise with us." This can really help to position your magazine in a way that gives the right impression to potential paid advertisers and bring in some ad sales quickly. Whether you are producing a magazine, a brochure, or some other type of printed material, I can recommend using Adobe InDesign. You should be able to get a free month's trial to play around with it. A useful trick also is to download free or paid templates. These are pre-designed magazine or brochure layouts that you can very easily use to drop your own images and text into. You can become a publisher of your own magazine, bringing your passion for your topic to life, without any particular design skills. YouTube. There are a lot of people out there who make money from their content through uploading it to YouTube. By carrying pre-roll ads and link ads in your video, you'll be able to make a small amount of money every time someone watches it. This could be a possible way of monetizing your passion for baking, for example, by creating a free online set of tutorials for people to watch. Creating the awesome oats product. Already I have a pretty clear idea of what I want my product to be like, but since I am not a chef, I decide that my concept would benefit from a professional's experience. I set out to find a food designer, someone who can take my basic idea and turn it into a finished, delicious product. Porridge isn't necessarily the sexiest product in the world, so to create a premium brand I'm going to need a chef who can help me to create some appealing images of what I'm selling. I managed to find someone who is perfect for the job, a food stylist in London called Alexander Paganelli, who runs a studio called deadhungry.co. Not only is he a great chef, he's also a talented photographer who can help me to create my products and then shoot them to create images for our website. His style is very minimal and he makes the food he shoots look really delicious. His talent will be put to good work in making porridge look sexy and fun. When I tell Alex about the concept for my premium oat mixes, he agrees to help me out with developing the recipes today and shooting the finished product tomorrow. It's a fast turnaround for a product like this, but he's up for the challenge. With the help of my 48-hour food stylist, I come up with a range of flavors for my mixes. It's important that they are delicious but also natural and vegan, so that we can promote them as a healthy indulgence. I want the range to offer flavors that are sufficiently mainstream for me not to alienate potential customers, but that also offer a wide enough range to appeal to a number of different tastes. Flavors: dark chocolate, orange peel, and hazelnuts. Peanut, banana, and chia seed. Apple, raisins, cinnamon, and pecans. I know from talking to my local store and looking at my successful competitors that creating premium packaging designs is going to be critical to the success of my brand. I've also been advised by my local store not to pack my product into bags, but rather to use something more substantial. Looking at packaging for oatmeal in America on the packaging blog The Dial-In, I noticed that a lot of brands are packed into attractive, round, cardboard canisters with metal lids. I figure that this sort of packaging could be perfect for my product and will really help me to stand out on the shelf, given that most of the brands I'll be competing against are packed in boring rectangular boxes. After some quick Googling, I managed to track down a UK company called Visican, which specializes in this type of packaging. I sent them an email, explaining that I am working on an urgent product development project. By explaining that my ultimate goal for the project is to supply supermarkets, I figure that they should be excited enough by the idea to help me out with some samples so that I can make an initial small batch of products. Soon after I get in touch, they reply to say that it would be no problem for them to send me a box of cardboard tubes that they have in stock. They also provide me with a quote so that I know how much the tubes will cost once I go into production. A set of cardboard tubes is on its way for next day delivery. Alex has completed testing out some recipes and it looks like everything is on track to have a finished product ready to sell by tomorrow. Sandoz Cold Brew Coffee. How to start a food and drink brand from home. I caught up with the founders of London's increasingly successful cold brew coffee company, Sandoz. Hugh Duffy and Luke Sudded set up the company in Hackney Wick after they saw the cold brew coffee trend take off in the US, and they have now seen their products launch in stores across the city, including in the likes of Selfridges and Marks and Spencer. They started out on a tiny scale, developing their cold brew recipes in their flat. They'd brew up batches and test them out on friends and family. Once they had a recipe that was popular, they brewed up 100 bottles, packaged them beautifully and gave them to people they respected in the industry, asking for their feedback. They agreed that if the response was positive, they'd go into it full time. Overwhelmed by the positivity that greeted their product and its packaging, they decided to pursue their idea further. They have some excellent advice for anyone trying to create a professional-looking brand from home. You need to make sure that your packaging is within the law, that you include your address and the weight. All of that stuff will become obvious over time with a bit of research. But what's perhaps more important is what you want people to see when they look at your brand. We went through multiple different designs and even brand names until we got to the brand that we settled on. You can listen to the full interview on the 48-Hour Startup podcast show.